How's everybody doing? If you found this channel, you found that you're not alone. Here we deal with addiction and recovery. I'm Sid Page, and I'm an addict. Got a very special friend in the studio tonight. His name's TJ. How you doing, TJ?
Not bad, not bad. Feeling
I'm
blessed.
blessed. Good. I'm glad you're here with us.
Thank you. Glad to be here. It's an honor for real.
Well, appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Definitely. So, you're in recovery right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
How far along are you with that?
I'm coming up on 90 days clean,
All
but
right.
I've been in recovery for the past probably year and 4 months.
Okay.
I had 10 months clean when I relapsed. So,
All right.
yeah,
90 days? Not bad. Not bad at all.
right.
Day by day, moment by moment.
Absolutely. And with the right group of guys.
There you go. There you have it. Support systems, everything.
Yes, it is.
So tell me, what's on your mind? How did all this begin for you?
Well, my life in addiction actually began when I was a child. Um, Both of my parents were severe drug addicts.
Okay.
My mom was a meth addict. My dad was a meth addict. My mom was also an alcoholic.
All right.
They split up when I was 8 years old, and I'm the youngest of four.
Okay.
So my older brothers were already kind of, dabbling in drugs because
Mhm.
obviously it was constantly around us. So I ended up using alcohol when I was 8, and I was unlucky enough to fall in love with it.
Yeah.
So from the time I was 8 to the time I was 11, I pretty much turned into a full blown alcoholic.
For the ages of 8 to 11,
Yeah,
that's when you started your path down addiction.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. By the age of 11, I was already arrested 4 times for public intoxication,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I was actually court ordered to my first AA meeting.
Okay.
So I've definitely been in addiction, 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Finally decided to pull my head out of my ass. I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I could relate.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could
it,
definitely
it
relate.
definitely sucked. My mom, she left my dad when I was 8 years old. She left him for another man.
Okay.
My dad took all four of us, and he obviously became a recluse. The pain, whatever, however he was dealing with it was through his addiction, which
Mm-hmm.
obviously compiled the problem. So he wasn't really there.
Okay.
There was actually a point in time I was, I think, 11 or 12 at the time, and I wanted to see how long it would take my dad to notice I was gone.
Uh,
So I actually left the house, and I was gone for almost a week, probably almost 2 weeks, and not a word from him, no calls to ask where I was at, nothing like that. And I ended up going to jail for drinking. I had stole a bottle of alcohol from CVS, and I got caught drinking it going down the road. And my dad comes to the jail, and he's like, "Where were you last night?" I'm like, "Dad, I've been gone for,
last night.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've been gone for like a week, 2 weeks." He's like, "No, you haven't." I'm like, "Yeah, I definitely have."
Mm-hmm.
So that pretty much explains how I got into drugs, why I got into drugs. My mom didn't come back in the picture until I was 12 years old. That's when, and during that time, she was in a really, really abusive relationship. The guy beat on her a lot,
Okay.
and that's just pretty much the sum of her relationships, even up till now. But when I was 12, she came back and she was already bad off on the needle. Obviously, I was so young, I didn't know what that was, but I started to learn what meth was when I was 12.
Okay.
Because my mom hadn't been around. I wanted her in my life. I already knew that my dad didn't care, or I felt that way anyway. I just didn't understand addiction at the time.
Right.
So I wanted her in my life. So I told my dad, "Hey, I want to move in with her." Well, when I moved in with her, just a short, probably month later, I ended up finding my mom overdosed in the bathroom, and that was at the Blue Apartments in Brownstown, and I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? My
Mm-hmm.
mom's laying there with a needle in her arm.
And you're still 12 at this point?
Still 12 at this
Yeah. Who
point.
at 12? Who would know what to do?
Yeah, yeah. So I ran out of the house screaming.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I was in an apartment complex. One of her friends stayed right across the street, who was also in active addiction with her,
Mm-hmm.
and she came over and she saved her life. But it scared me, and that just kind of made me more drawn to my mom.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to lose her again.
Did you feel like you needed to protect her at this point?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. And she was still in an abusive relationship with her boyfriend. His name was Rodney. He used to beat up me and my brothers.
Okay.
You know what I mean? When they
Yeah.
would come around or spend the weekends, if he went to put his hands on her, obviously we jumped in the way, so he would put his hands on us.
Gotcha.
And then I got curious at that point, I guess, as to what it was that was in the needle. So I started going through her stuff. I already knew what pot was. I already knew what pills was because I had been using stuff like that. So I started going through her stuff, and she had like this little tooth that you get from a dentist. You know, one of the ones that you like pop open.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, so she had one of those, and that's what she had her meth hid in.
Okay.
So I had snorted pills before, and I popped this open, and it's a little bag of white powder, and I'm like, well, maybe it's pills. So I snorted a line of it, and that's when I fell in love with meth.
Okay.
So the first time I had stayed up for like 28 days, and at the time I'm only 12 years old, so I was hallucinating, and it was just a whole bad situation. The time I was 13, I had probably already been to jail, I think, 20 times. And when I got released that last time, my dad was like, look, you're not staying with her. It was too bad. The dude was beating us up. You know what I mean? So my dad took me back. And that's when we moved in with my grandmother. And we lived in a one-bedroom shotgun house. It was me, my Uncle Roger, my grandma, my dad, and all three of my older brothers.
Okay.
So there was only one bedroom. That was my grandmother's bedroom. And me and my three brothers slept on the front room floor. My uncle slept on the couch, and my dad slept in the garage.
All right.
We grew up very, very poor.
I'm sure.
At most, we had a thing of bologna and a thing of eggs in the fridge.
Okay.
So I just dove deeper into my addiction and trying to go to jail, actually, so that I would have a place to stay, so that I would have 3 meals a day. It was like my escape from reality.
So your home life from 8, and at this age, you're talking about you're 14?
13.
13?
13 coming up on 14, yeah.
And you've grown up in this addiction. It was just normal to you. You started using at a very young age. Now you're in a different area. Folks are divorced, pretty much neglected.
Yes.
And there's just not much to eat, probably no chance of perspectives, and you're actually looking forward to going to jail.
Yes.
For some stability.
Yep.
3 meals, a bed,
Yep.
a routine.
Yep.
Okay.
Not sleeping out in the cold.
All right.
You know, because I did that a lot of nights. Like, I grew up very insecure. Like, I had 3 older brothers, and common sibling rivalry, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Being the youngest, they pick on you, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Now
I'm the youngest
older,
of 3, so I get that.
Right, right. So now that I'm older, I understand it.
Right.
But back then, I was going through much emotional trauma from my parents and the rest of my family that it was like I just never felt a part of. I never felt like I belonged there. You know what I mean?
You felt alone within your own family.
Yes.
I can relate.
Yeah.
I'm sure others can relate with that.
Yeah.
That feeling, yes.
Yeah, so, and the only thing that gave me a sense of belonging was drugs. Living that life. You know what I mean?
Killed the pain, brought you some income. That's an escape.
Yep, absolutely. It numbed it. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, yeah.
Little did I know at the time that later on in life it did nothing but compile my problems.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It didn't really fix anything. It just let it build up to where it was completely uncontrollable.
Right.
But, yeah, so when I was 13, that's when all that took place, and I actually tried crack for my first time when I was 13.
Okay.
I was getting crack from, I won't say what town, but I was driving back and forth with this older lady. She was like 30-something years old. I was 13, and we were going to cop crack, and for about 6 months it was like that, and then finally I gave that up just because, you know, meth lasted longer. It was a different high. I was in love with meth.
More bang for your buck?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously me being, 14, 13 years old, money wasn't really an option.
Right.
Unless I was out stealing stuff, which that is how I supported my habit.
Okay.
So, yeah, at 14, I quit doing that, went back to meth, and I lost all control. You know what I mean? Me and my brothers were constantly in and out of jail. I didn't feel like I had a dad at all. But looking back now, I know I did have a dad. He was just so lost in his addiction that he couldn't love me the way that I felt like he should have.
Right.
Same with my mom.
Right.
But there's still an active addiction today.
Okay.
It just got to the point to where, you know what I mean? I kept seeing my family fall apart, and we all just kept feeding off each other's addiction and holding each other down. And I'm just like, I don't want to live like this no more. So let me be the example to you that we can recover, that we can get better. You know what I mean? Because I've seen a lot of bad stuff as a child. I've seen people get shot. I've seen my mother get raped.
Okay.
And it just all affected me to the point where it was like, I'm torn between this person that I have to be on the streets, you know, this savage that goes around stealing people's shit, robbing people, don't care about this person or the next. But the good person I am inside, it was like I was always afflicted between the two. You know what I mean? So over time, finally, the good won. You know what I mean? God.
So you were Jekyll and Hyde at this point. You know, you had your true nature was the gentle TJ, the caring, wanting to be loved, and then you had the Mr. Hyde side, the street thug, the robber, the
right,
you know,
the one
drug
going
user,
to, you know, the one going to jail, didn't care about how much time he was serving. Fucking
Right.
give me the case. I don't care what it is. I'm
Gotcha.
kicking indoors. I'm robbing people's houses.
Mhm.
Doing whatever I can to support my addiction because that was the only thing that made me feel at peace.
Okay.
You know what I mean? When I did that drug, when I put that needle in my arm,
Mhm.
and I actually didn't put the needle in my arm up until I was 19.
Okay.
You know, because I seen how it affected my mom. Like I watched my mom one day. She sat there on the bedroom floor in our apartment, and she stuck herself probably 50 or 60 times just trying to hit a vein to the point to where her entire leg and arm was just nothing but blood, and that affected me. So it was like, I don't ever want to do that. I'll never be that addict.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll never sink that low. And just thinking like that, I think kind of planted that seed in my head, and it festered there, and it growed till finally one day I was like, I want to understand why she does it. So that's when I tried it myself.
So the good part of you is winning out, and you're deciding to be the standard of, I'm going to get out from under all this dysfunction, addiction, negativity. What age are you at this point?
To where I decide that I really kind of want to get out of it.
Yeah.
I was about 18 when I first started thinking, you know, is there a better life? Is there a better way?
Okay.
Now, when I actually decided to listen to my spiritual experience, when I decided to listen to that spiritual awakening and God saying, look, I've got you out of all this and I've had your back the whole time, I was 29.
Okay.
Yeah, so
roughly 10, 11 years between the time you decided this is enough. Okay, now God's got me, and now I really need to take this journey to figure out what the better part of life is.
Yes.
Clean living.
Yeah.
Why don't we get into that a little bit? So what was your first step towards getting where you needed to go without drugs?
It was probably the year before last, so about roughly a year and a half ago. I was in Westville Correctional. It's when all the corona hit, all that.
So you're in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was there on a burglary case for trying to support my dope habit.
Okay.
So I'm there, I'm serving my parole time from a previous possession case back in 2012, plus a new burglary case. And it's just really bad there. The whole prison got shut down. The military came in. And there was riots. But what I was used to all that just because I've served a lot of time as an adult. I've served 8 years in prison since I was 21.
All drug related or crimes related to supporting your addiction.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was used to the violence. I was used to being in that environment. But what really got me one day was this guy walked up. He was a white dude, and he was talking through the door, and I guess he was affiliated with a certain gang. And he told them, because he only had 3 months left, and he wanted to get home to his kids.
Sure.
Well, they was trying to send him off to do some dumb shit, and he told him, he's like, look, gangbanging is overrated, and I don't want to do it no more. I want to have a family.
Okay.
So later that day, another gang who was affiliated with them came and snatched him up from behind and stabbed him.
All right.
hit him about 4 times in the chest with an ice poker, and he died.
Okay.
And that was really kind of like, I don't know, it opened my eyes because it wasn't the first time I had seen somebody killed, but it was just like, do I want to die like that? You know what I mean? Is
Right.
this where I want to be?
Did this take
when
place right outside your door?
it took place right beside me?
Right beside you. You were in the same room this event took
Yes,
place.
because in Westville it was open dorm,
Okay.
and I was in on GSC side,
All right.
so I was in 8 dorm, which is the disciplinary idle dorm.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's all open dorm. You got stacked bunks, you know what I mean, all the way across this side, all the way across this side, and it's open in the middle from one side of the dorm to the other,
Right.
with a guard's box in the middle of the 2 sides.
Okay.
So when this happened, I was right here at my bunk, and it happened 1 bunk over.
Okay.
So it literally happened directly beside me.
All right.
And it was just like, man, why? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't understand it. But it affected me in a way to where it was just, it hit home, and I'm like, this ain't the life. This ain't what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, can I handle violence? Yes. Do I want to anymore? No.
Right.
I don't want to die like that.
No.
I want my life to have purpose.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that, once I got out of prison, which was only 2 short months later, I got out of prison, and I did good for about 4.5 months. I held the job. I wasn't using. I was on probation. But then I ended up getting with a female, and shortly thereafter, it was about a month, I lost my job.
Okay.
And we started selling dope.
I see.
So
she was caught up in her path of
Yes.
addiction as well.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
she wasn't using at the time because she was also on probation.
Okay.
We both actually had the same probation officer.
Okay.
So that was a whole fun time trying to tell our probation officer, yeah, we live together. But
Right.
nah, she was addicted to the lifestyle,
I see.
addicted to the hustle.
Uh-huh.
So I was addicted to meth. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Did I hustle here and there to support my habit? Yes, but
Right.
not to the depths that she did.
Okay.
So whenever I got with her, everything was cool for a while. But then when I lost my job and I couldn't pay the bills, boom, we started hustling. So being around it so much, you know what I mean, I ended up relapsing. So I failed 4 or 5 drug tests with my probation officer, and I finally went to her and I'm like, look, I'm sorry, but you've got to do something, because if you don't, I'm going to choose drugs every time,
Right.
because I've already got that taste. You know what I mean? And do I want away from it? Yes. Do I want a better life? Yes. But I can't make that choice. I'm too weak to.
Okay.
And that was exactly what I told my PO.
I think that was your first step towards the right direction, would be admitting this is totally out of my control.
Yeah.
I'm an addict and I can't handle this, so I need your help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I told her, and she's like, okay, because I was crying to her too. You know
Well,
what I mean? They
sure.
say grown men don't cry.
Oh, we do.
Bullshit,
Oh, we
yes.
do. Yes, we do.
Yeah. So I told her that my court date was January 5th of 21.
Mm-hmm.
It was my PTR. I walk in, and I had already checked myself out of 2 rehabs. I was there voluntarily, but I checked myself out. She wasn't happy about that.
No.
So she looks at the judge, and I was going to go home. The judge had already said his piece, say, show up to your next court date. And she looks at the judge, stands up, and says, no, he just checked himself out of a rehab 3 days ago,
Uh-huh.
and I want him locked up.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, boom, I'm in jail. I'm like, Jayla, why'd you do that? You know I'm trying to do good. She said, I did it for you, not to you.
Okay.
She actually came to the jail to visit me, and this is the first time a probation officer or anything has ever came to see me in jail, and I've been on probation or paperwork since I was 11.
Right.
So she sits me down and she talks to me. She's like, look, this is what I'm doing for you. She said, you can't be in Seymour because you know everybody knows you.
You're too connected.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so
People,
she said
places, and things.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she changed that for me because I couldn't do it for myself. She actually
All right.
said, I've got you accepted into this halfway in another town that's
Okay.
further upstate. And I'm like, okay, so when do I go? She said, you'll be there February 12th. It's already set up.
All right.
I'm like, all right. So she set me down to detox me, get me away from everybody, and then sent me upstate.
Okay.
And that's where my life of recovery started.
All right. And what year was this?
2021.
2021.
Yep.
Are you still at the same recovery house?
No.
Okay.
No. I did pretty good there at first,
All right.
obviously just getting away from everybody.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that was it. And I also thought that, my length of sobriety was the depth of my recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not. It's so much deeper than that. There's so much more to recovery, the work that you have to put in, the inner workings, the faith that you have to put in to your own life,
Right.
and seeking something better is so much more than days sober,
Okay.
you know?
So you don't
So
have to change a whole lot, just everything.
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
But no, I was there for 10 months, and I ended up relapsing.
Okay.
Also, I ended up getting into a relationship before I wasn't ready,
Uh-huh.
and that
Pretty
set me over the
common.
rails. Yes.
Okay.
That's why they say it's not good to get in a relationship before, a year.
I gotta go with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because it will take you out every time.
Okay.
But no, I relapsed, and each time I relapsed, it got worse, man. I went out there. I'd only been relapsed 4 days on that one, and I'm just like, I almost lost my life.
All right. Yeah.
So I ended up checking myself into a 30-day rehab, and that was probably the longest 30 days of my life.
I'm sure.
It was at Terra Treatment Center in Franklin.
Okay.
And that is a great place.
Okay.
It is an amazing place. If anybody ever wants to, detox or get clean or be surrounded by true recovery and people who care, that is a good place to get started.
All right.
That's actually where I had my true spiritual awakening,
Okay.
where I broke down to God, and he spoke to me through another person.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting there wondering, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep moving forward? And I broke down, and I kicked the group room door open, ran outside, and I just screamed at the sky. Why?
Uh-huh.
That was all I screamed. Why?
Uh-huh.
And later that night, I was planning on leaving.
Okay.
Well, I went to a meeting in Atterbury. So I went to that meeting, and this guy approaches me who I've never seen before in my life.
All right.
His name's Jason, and he comes up to me, and he says, "What's your name?" So I told him I'm TJ.
Uh-huh.
And he says, "I'd like to pray with you." And I'm like, okay. So he comes to the back room with me, and he prays over me, and everything that is coming out of his mouth was everything that had been happening in my life up to that point. And it was just like a direct answer from God to stay where you're at, sit still, listen, and then move forward.
Okay.
So that's exactly what I did. I stayed. And when I got out of Terra, I ended up coming back to Anderson because that's where I do good at.
All right.
I had already built this foundation, and even though I got on bullshit while I was here and I relapsed, I wanted to face my problems.
Okay.
I wanted to deal with the bridges that I burnt and rebuild those. So, accountability.
Now you're facing accountability.
Yep.
You've already admitted that your life's beyond your own control.
Yes, absolutely. It was definitely unmanageable.
This Jason person, are you absolutely sure at this point that it was actually a man, a human man, or?
Oh, yeah. I mean, at first I was just like, because when we were sitting there praying, obviously our heads were bowed, our eyes were closed. But then as he was speaking, I just kind of looked up at him, and chills went down my spine, and I'm just like, is this really happening? And tears started to fill my eyes. And I actually reached my hand on his shoulders, man, and I grabbed a hold of him, put my head on his, and I was like, thank you, God. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
So,
I do know.
So he was like a living angel.
TJ had a miracle.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely had a miracle that day. And because of that, I'm sitting here in front of you trying to help other people in recovery.
I'm glad for it. I'm so glad for it. Yeah, definitely. I've always thought that, you pray those prayers, oh, Lord God, please get me out of the situation of addiction. Please help me not use anymore. It won't happen right then and there, maybe. Maybe in some cases it will, but he will bring to you the people, the tools, the literature, and push you along, but then it's up to you, the individual, to do the work, to go to the meetings, to read, to pray.
Yes, absolutely.
To do that soul searching, figure out your own character defects, and not forget the past, but
learn from it,
and to cut away the toxicity.
because there's all types of people like us who struggle with the same thing.
Yes, we do.
You know what I mean?
I do.
We all have our own stories, but at the end of the day, we have the same addiction.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like our brains are wired the same way,
Yes, we are.
and our addiction leads us to believe that it's not okay to reach out, that we've got this. Oh, we don't need anybody. Really, we need our higher power, and we need a good support group around us in order to recover. But with that, we can recover.
Yes. That's the soundest advice. I was actually going to ask the question if you were to give any type of counsel to somebody out there who has heard your story or any of the others on this channel, that what would you say if you could go back where you're at now? I mean, you can go back to that 18, 19-year-old TJ,
Yeah.
and that kid came to you and said, "Hey, older self, what do I do?"
I would say seek life.
Okay.
Surround yourself with positive people.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Because, if you surround yourself with positive people, then you're going to start thinking positive. You're going to start making positive moves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the exact opposite when you surround yourself with negative people. But I guess in simple words is seek the best life you can find.
Okay.
Find something that's worth living for and hold on to it. Reach out. Don't ever be afraid to, speak what's on your heart.
Right.
And don't ever be afraid to ask for help.
That's well said. That's some of the most logical sound advice I've probably heard. You also leaned on your higher power heavily.
Yeah. Oh yes.
When you began to seek out your higher power, or he revealed himself to you, do you have any type of past religion or past faith whatsoever?
A little bit. I kind of dabbled in church when I was a kid, and in the juvenile detention center that I was incarcerated in for most of my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we had church every Sunday. There was a lady there named Gail Skaggs.
Mm-hmm.
She was, an awesome lady. Absolutely blessed to have her in my life, especially at that time. She really cared about the youth and about trying to help us change our way.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I was too young to listen, but yeah. So she was Pentecostal.
Okay.
And I had went to church outside of jail a couple times. So I knew who God was. I knew about the Bible. And then as I got older, I had read the Bible a couple times in adult jail,
Mm-hmm.
but I always had that belief, jailhouse Christian,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? I didn't want to be that.
Right.
So all those foxhole prayers and everything that I prayed when I was a kid, it was just kind of like, I'm a man, I'm going to accept what I've done.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely have always been a believer in God. I've always known he was there. My grandmother, she wasn't religious, but she was a woman of many beliefs.
Yeah.
And she actually taught me, that angels aren't just some fairy tale with feathers and wings.
Right.
They're the people that live among us, around us, that help us along our way and teach us either what we're supposed to do or who we're supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And she was my living angel. So,
Okay.
yeah, I've always definitely had a belief in a higher power.
Very good. We've heard about your past and a little bit about your present. Tell us some of the things you got going on right now, presently, today, close to your 90 days of recovery, your continuous recovery. What are you doing? What are you out there doing?
Well, I've never had a license in my life.
Mm-hmm.
They got suspended the first time when I was 15.
Okay.
By the time I was 22, I went on a high-speed chase, so they got suspended again, obviously.
Right.
Also drug-related.
Okay.
And it's just an accomplishment that I've always wanted to take care of.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I never knew how to do it, but since I've been here in this past 90 days, I took care of it.
Okay.
Today, I went to Indianapolis, and I've got my license.
All right.
You know what I mean? I got that taken care of.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It's a victory.
Yeah, for me, that is a huge victory because I love to drive. It's
Uh-huh.
my peace of mind.
Sure.
So I did that. I'm getting ready to get hired on full-time at work.
Okay.
They're actually seeing about hiring me before my 90-day probationary period.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm surrounded by a good group of guys there, too.
Okay.
It is kind of a hard job as far as physical labor goes, but I love it. You know what I mean? I can come home and say, hey, I earned my check.
Yes.
So I take pride in that. Another thing is I've got a lot of good friends now, man. I rebuilt, I think, 3 so far of the bridges I burnt before I left.
Made some amends?
Yep,
Okay,
definitely made some
good,
amends.
good.
One was with my sponsor.
All right.
The other was with the owner of the last halfway I was in.
All right.
I had to make a financial amends with him because when I
Okay.
left, I owed money.
Uh-huh.
But even before I made that amends, I reached out to him and was like, "Hey, man, I'm sorry." He's like, "Look, you're not supposed to tell me sorry. You're just supposed to do right." Because when you
Mm-hmm.
make amends, it's not about "I'm sorry, I apologize." That's irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's heard that 1,000 times in our
Sure.
addiction. He said, "Just do better." He said, "If you want better, do better." So over the past few weeks, I've shown him, "Hey, look, this is what I'm doing, man." And he's like, "I'm proud of you. I've been praying for you."
A living amends.
Yes. And he's like, "That's awesome." He said, "That's what I wanted to see." He said, "Don't worry about anything."
Uh-huh.
And I wish the best for you. He said, "If you ever need me, I'm there."
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep. Yep.
I think I've seen you around in the rooms too. The
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How many meetings do you prefer to attend?
I prefer probably right around 4 to 5.
Okay.
I feel like overdoing it will burn me out.
All right.
Unless
Pace
I,
yourself.
right,
Uh-huh.
exactly, unless I truly need one,
There you
and then
go.
I'll go to more.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, 4 or 5, and I'm actually getting a lot more comfortable with those meetings. At first, it's kind of like that I don't feel a part of, but
Right. Yes.
now that I've been going and just opening up for 2 seconds, saying, "Hey, I'm grateful to be here. I'm
Uh-huh.
grateful for recovery, and congratulations on your tokens." Just those small things have gotten me more comfortable with speaking.
Right.
So that's
And
pretty awesome.
and here you are in the studio today.
Yeah, yeah. This is definitely a blessing.
It is a
Yeah.
blessing. This is great.
I hope this helps somebody else just as much as it's helping me, because honestly, it is.
Good.
So,
And this is helping you, and maybe somebody can find this and hear your story or other stories, and it helps them out. All this is worth it.
yeah,
This is far more than a hobby to me.
right.
To have a person such as yourself. Like, I always thought that anybody and everybody, I don't care who they are, if they were to sit down with somebody and give all the details of the life, the good, the bad, the triumphs, the defeats,
Yeah,
it'd be worthy of a Spielberg movie.
yeah, yeah.
Every one of us walking out there is worthy of like a Scorsese
Mm.
Spielberg collaboration film.
Straight Nobel Prize.
There you go.
Oh,
TJ, man, I appreciate you.
yeah,
I'm proud to know you. I'm proud that you're my brother in recovery. I was wondering, would you join me in a prayer to close the show out?
absolutely, yeah.
Our Heavenly Father, we'd like to thank you for this time, this conversation. Lord, thank you for leading us to record these stories and place them up on these platforms that somebody may hear them and listen and decide that they're not alone in the world, that they may seek help, seek the place that you need for them to go. And oh Lord, if you would please send angels to the still struggling addict, the still struggling alcoholic, the overeater, the
Amen.
sex addict, the gambling addict, the compulsive. Please give them comfort and wisdom and allow them to seek your will and your face. And Lord, again, I just want to thank you for this time with TJ and for bringing him through this really tough story, this truthful, tough story that he shared with everybody today. We love you, Jesus. We thank you for this day. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, we will be back soon, very soon, with another story. And hopefully those who need to hear it will. I'm Sid Page, and please always remember, you're not alone.